strategy in business planning and building wealth as well. I know tax laws can be quite intimidating, but the key thing is knowledge, right? If you have knowledge, you have power. And we hope today's discussion can help educate people on tax laws that can benefit you on your financial journey. So our topic for today is going to be led by Mr. Greg Jones. Greg Jones is a global real estate investor. He's also the host of the Daily Champ Talk and also the creator of the Get Paid Real Estate System. Over the last 20 years, his methods and strategies have helped people generate thousands of success stories and over 1 billion in revenue. Thank you once again, Mr. Greg Jones. You can start.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I just want to say thank you to the African Business Club, especially also to my mentee, Doyen. And I want to thank everybody for their time. You have to forgive me. I had some technology issues, so the Business Club is helping me out with it. So please bear with me and bear with us, and I think you'll get a lot from this. So you can change to the next slide, guys. Now, if everyone's taking a look at this, the reason why I'm doing this is because there's a lot of reckless information that goes out from well-intentioned people, but I do want everyone to know that I'm the biggest proponent. I have several attorneys, accountants, and I tell everyone that what you're going to hear today is presented to you as financial, business, and tax education, but not tax advice or legal advice. It is completely advised that you sit down with a licensed professional before making any major moves. But what I will do is share only what I have succeeded at from experience over the last 25 years that made me a wealthy person. You guys can change the next slide. Since everybody's going to be getting a copy of this presentation, what I like to do is always prep everyone's mind by letting them know who is actually speaking, because I'm the biggest believer in facts. So here are some basic facts about me: where I was born, what I've done, my investment success. I've been very successful by the grace of God. And this is just something for you to tie in what I'm going to say to, and so you understand the context for where I got my information from. You can go to the next slide. Now, I have some simple housekeeping rules, that's why I agree with Ayo as well. But these are the three things that I tell anybody, and I've been doing this for over 20 years at the college level and just thousands of these presentations. I tell everyone, look, keep an open mind. What works for you, keep. The rest of it, throw in the trash. Second, write down your questions, because there's no question I can't answer. I've been doing this a very long time. And three, pay attention, because these strategies that you're being taught, I charge people $10,000 and $20,000 a month for, and I guarantee you'll get something out of it. You guys can go to the next screen. My father, who is my living superhero, told me that life and death are in the tongue. That's from the Bible. But also, if you understand the true meaning of a term, it allows for you to tap in and benefit from that term. So these are 4 terms that you guys just need to pay attention to. First, tax planning. Most people confuse tax planning and tax preparation, but tax planning is a higher level. And it really deals with just the efficiency of maximizing all financial resources, as well as business planning. It's a great cousin to tax planning, because even if you work for somebody else, you're in business for yourself as an employee. So everything I share today, when you see business, just put the word yourself, because everyone and their self-interest is your business interest. But the 2 main things that get confused, especially in modern culture, are the terms wealth and rich. Wealth, I gave you a good definition. It's abundance of valued possessions. But the most important thing about wealth, folks, is wealth is measured in time and not dollars. So for instance, if you have monthly expenses of $1,000 and you have $12,000 in the bank, you have 1 year's wealth. Conversely, if you make $1 million a year and you have $120,000 in expenses, but you only have $12,000 in the bank, and you're a plastic surgeon, in terms of wealth, you only have 1 month. So the person can make less and be wealthier. Now, rich comes from Forbes' definition of it. And it generally means a person makes $1 million or more per year. and it's always measured in dollars. Okay, you could change the slide. This is a couple of different magazines from Forbes. And the reason why I'm using Forbes, because I have a client that's worth $16.2 billion. And he was originally born in Ukraine. I met him when I was overseas working at the United Nations. I've known him a very long time. He's a client and a friend. He's one of my tax planning clients. And he said this: Forbes magazine is a comic book to the truly wealthy, and it's a massive distraction from how money and wealth really works. You need to understand this, folks. The wealthiest people in the world are not in Forbes magazine. It's entertaining. There are rich people there, and there's also a couple of wealthy people, like Warren Buffett. I'm not saying is not wealthy, but you need to understand, if you read through that magazine, at no time do they actually ever truly dig in to how these people got wealthy. They'll give you these narratives. Well, I'm going to give you 9 strategies today that these same people are executing that you've never heard. You can change the screen. Now, there are some wonderful books that have been written on generating wealth. The Millionaire Next Door is one of my favorite books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, the #1 all-time best-selling personal finance book. So what I'm presenting to you right now, what I call the 12 surface concepts for wealth creation, and I guarantee you've heard all 12 or at least 1 or 2 of them. And in order: set and achieve goals. We've all heard that. Actively save and invest. Maintain stable employment. Surround yourself with experts. Protect your credit. Patience is a virtue. Pay yourself first. You've all heard these 12 items. And I'm not saying they're not important, but they're on the surface. So change the slide. But now let's go a little deeper. At this point, if you do not have a pad and a pen, even if you're on your phone, I'll give you 6 to 10 seconds to go get it, because I'm going to be giving you some information. The slides, and you can turn to the next slide, guys. I'm not going to just be reading from this PowerPoint. The PowerPoint will be a guide for us today over the next 15 to 20 minutes. I want you guys to write this stuff down. The #1 thing I want, and I make every client, all 11,000 of them, I made them all do what I'm telling you to do. You're going to write this in the biggest words you can. What's on this slide? The IRS is not your enemy. It is the source of incredible intimidation and fear, but the IRS is nothing more than a collection agency for the United States Department of the Treasury. You can't even send the IRS a check. They collect money for the Treasury Department. Now turn to the next slide. So what we're going to do now is dig into the 9 wealth creation strategies of the 1%. Turn to the first slide. Now you see where it says all business entities are not created equal? One of the reasons why I wanted you guys to get out a pad and pen is because what you need to understand is that if you choose the wrong company structure, you're going to kill any chance you have to use the right tax structure. C corporations are the source of the most confusion regarding people and their money and when they get into business. In fact, I guarantee you that 99% of you, when you decide to go into business, you probably sat down with an accountant or even a CPA who meant well and told you the following: don't follow C corporation because of double taxation. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, I promise to only share what I've done. I filed over, in my lifetime, over 395 corporations in almost every state in the United States, and I have some stuff abroad. I've done it on behalf of myself and other people. So pay close attention to this. C corporations are like human beings. Every other form of what they call corporate creation or business creation has similar concepts, but they do not allow you to access the full benefit of the tax code. And if you've been in business long enough, or if you're just starting in business, let me help you out with something. There is no such thing as small business taxes. Small business benefits are spread throughout the entire tax code. But the tax code in the United States has been made confusing. But the reality is a fifth grader can understand it. And this is what I want you to write down about how to understand the tax code. The tax code of the United States is predicated or based on one thing and one thing only. What does the government want to promote at that time? And if you look back on it, you don't have to be an analyst, an accountant, an economist. Just think about it. If America wants to promote affordable housing, all of a sudden there's tax credits for affordable housing. There's benefits to real estate investors who do affordable housing. If they want to promote smart energy grids or saving money with the environment, all of a sudden there's available tax credits for these types of things. And they show up in all types of ways. Programs that they offer you at work. Next thing you know, you have a human resource administrator coming to you saying, hey guys, we got these cool benefits. They're pre-tax. What it is that's the government. That's the trickle down. But when you talk about corporate taxes, let me help you guys out. And I'll share some personal information, and I'll also use a company that all of you have heard of, Amazon. The reason why Amazon paid no taxes last year because they are a C corporation. And as a C Corp, this is a key difference, folks, with a C Corp versus the other ones. Just so you know, technically there is no such thing as an S corporation. What it is an S Corp is a C Corp that has chosen or elected to tax itself under subchapter S of the IRS tax code. Sole props are nothing more than another version of yourself. That's you doing business as you, and otherwise known as a DBA. And then you have single member LLCs. Most people, when they get into business, they're told to get an LLC. The problem with limited liability companies, first of all, a little history, they were invented right here in New York State in 1978, right after the Tax Reform Act when President Ronald Reagan was in office. And initially, doctors used to have the same benefits. Licensed professionals, doctors, dentists, attorneys, architects used to have the same benefit as regular corporations. But when America was destroyed by something, some of you guys are just too young, but there was something called junk bonds, and it collapsed the economy. So as a result, they took away the tax benefits given to doctors, and they created this thing that you now see on TV. If you see a doctor, dentist, attorney, architect, they use the terms PC. That means professional corporation. That has the same power as a limited liability company. When you are a single member LLC, you're what's called a disregarded entity. What that means is that all of the income that you earn flows through to your personal tax return or your 1040. Even if you're a partner, you'll find that with S Corps and limited liability companies, when there's one or more, they'll tax them as a partnership, thinking that they're saving them from this thing called double taxation. No. Here's what a corporation can do that none of these entities can do. A corporation does not pay 21% tax rate. It pays 21% after it spends all the money, and what's left they pay 21% on. And the reason I'm spending some time on this because the other entities have deceived people. When you work for someone, there are items being paid for by your employer. So when you leave, the tax rate for you can be anywhere between 10 to 37%, and when you add the self-employment tax, you're now at 50%. So if you ever remember reading that Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he said, if you're not a corporation, you can pay as much as 50%, this is what he was talking about. You can turn to the next slide. The second strategy is people keep saying, buy real estate. A person who I absolutely adore and think he's just a real example of a real estate investor is Chris Senegal. You guys had him on your show. He's a brilliant young man. He's down in Houston. He does development and rehab work, mainly development. Chris Senegal said something a couple of weeks, and I was chiming in with him, that real estate does not create generational wealth. He's 100% right. Real estate investing generates financial freedom, but not generational wealth. It's only generational wealth if the next generation picks up where you left off. Most don't. So you'll, like, for instance, I'm first generation rich in my family. My kids will probably pick up where I'm leaving off, because I'm about to share with you what the rich do when they buy real estate. Because everyone says buy real estate. But the problem is, buying real estate in and of itself does not necessarily make you rich. In fact, a lot of people will be upside down because they're buying commercial entities. The economy is about to slip into a massive correction. If you thought 2008 was something, I want you to write this down. You ain't seen nothing yet, folks. This COVID thing has really turned everything upside down, and these banks, in trying to prepare for it, have issued things called forbearance on mortgages. The problem with a forbearance on a mortgage is, at the end of the forbearance period, you're going to have to start paying, but people haven't necessarily gotten back to work. So what will happen is the banks will begin to see failure on the mortgages. But this is what rich people do with real estate. They buy property, and the income from it, this is what Forbes magazine doesn't tell you. They buy state debt, tax liens. I've been buying tax liens for 26 years. A tax lien means this: when you live in a town, you owe taxes on the house. So like, you have your mortgage payment and you have the tax payment. Usually banks write them up together so that they present it as the same thing. But if you fail to pay your taxes, the municipality or the township you live in auctions off your tax. So a real estate investor can come along like me, and I buy that tax. Now here's the thing you need to pay attention to. When someone grabs your tax, each state has what's called a redemption period. Redemption period means the time in which you, as the owner of that tax, pays me back my money, and each state has a different redemption period, how long you have, and percentage. Like in the state of Texas, it's 21%. So like, for instance, when I buy tax liens in Texas, if a person had $1,000 in tax debt, I bought the $1,000, they have to give me $1,000 plus 21%, which would be $210. If they don't, even if they have a mortgage, the mortgage is zeroed out because taxes trump, no indication of President Trump, but taxes trump mortgages. So the mortgage is thrown out, and I just got a house for $1,000. Second, loan to the government. Now, when people first saw this, when I started doing this about 10 years ago, people were like, what do you mean loan to the government? This is how you loan to the government. Tax liens is a form of loaning to the government. You're keeping the municipality going by buying them. But when you buy bonds, never buy a bond other than a short-term bond. Why? Because the maturation rate is so fast, they can't pay you in money. So all they can do is keep issuing you bonds. If you ever wondered where the famous black card comes from, actually it comes from wealthy people who have debt with this country. They can't pay them, so American Express did a joint venture with the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve and created what you now call the black card. And that black card doesn't have a limit because it's connected to the debt that you have, to the return you're supposed to be getting on it. So you'll see celebrities with it, but they're not the ones who obtained it. The one who obtained it is their business manager, and he just gives them the card. Most celebrities can't tell you how that money gets paid back. This is how it gets paid back, by buying short-term bonds. You can go to the next slide. 3, Dorian and myself, I've been working with, Dorian's one of the founders of this business club, but I've been buying existing businesses. According to the Small Business Administration, 9 out of 10 businesses are going to fail, even if you have all the money and capital. So unless you're interested in starting 10 businesses so that 1 out of that 10 can succeed, it's just simply easier to buy an existing business. Now, when most people think about buying an existing business, they think about what they like, what they don't like, their passions. No, you're thinking way too hard. I buy businesses that are essential. So like, for instance, I have a deal right now to buy McDonald's in Venezuela, in Caracas. Another one where I used to live in Morocco, Marrakesh. There's one for sale there. I own tax planning businesses. I bought these businesses with cash flow. They have money, they have employees. But here's the amazing thing, folks. Not only are they easy to borrow from banks, banks will give you the money even with a credit score of 500. And I'm telling you this because I used to be the head of lending for Chase here in New York City. Not only is it easy to borrow, but there's something called an SBA 7A loan, which is a government-backed loan that banks give you. The government backs it 90%. The bank has a 10% exposure rate, meaning if you don't pay, the government will pay back 90% of the loan. So what the bank says, so they have no exposure, they say, okay, Mr. Business Buyer, you got to show 10%. So if you buy the business for $100,000, the business is, if you can show, and it's showing that it has positive cash flow, the bank will loan you the money. But here's the crazy thing. 50% of all businesses with employees and cash flow are financed by the person who used to own it. So you only need 50% from the bank. This is why the bank says yes almost all the time if it falls under here, and most of the time it does. This is what people are doing with their money that they're not showing you in Forbes magazine, and it doesn't make it to these reality shows. Lastly, the purchase is considered an investment. So any return you get from it is taxed at the lowest possible rate, which can be as low as 3% in some cases, depending on how it is, but not to exceed 11%. So you turn to the next slide. Now here's something you absolutely, I'm guaranteed no one's ever heard this. And most people, if they heard it, they don't realize they can do it. Tax credits. Amazon, remember I said that company at the beginning? One of the reasons why Amazon paid no taxes, write this down, this is all actual fact. You can go look at the financial statements at Amazon.com, go to the bottom of the screen and press financial statements, and you'll get this document that's 496 pages. And in it, it will tell you how they did it. This company bought $4 billion, yes, $4 billion in tax credits for a discounted amount of, drum roll, 100 million. I'll say that again. They bought almost $4 billion in tax credits for 100 million. So that means in everyday language, if the company made $4 billion and they have $4 billion in tax credits offset what you earned. So if you made $4 billion and you have $4 billion tax credits, at that point, you have zero tax obligation. But if you remember, I said they spent $100 million to buy the $4 billion. So the $100 million is an expense. So guess what Amazon's corporate tax return was? Tax refund. Most of us only think of personal refund checks, but companies get them too, if you're intelligent. They got over $100 million in a corporate tax refund. I'm pausing because I want you really to think about that. You can buy these at 50 cents on the dollar depending on how much you're purchasing. If you remember, I said you can do this as an employee. So yeah, no one on this call has to go out and get $100 million worth of tax. But if say you're making $100,000 a year, do you realize that you can go find, and they're available at the city, state, and federal level? All you have to do is type in Google, buy city or state tax credits, put your state in, and you'll see the source for it. It's that public. So you can go, for instance, making $100,000, go buy $10,000 worth of tax credits for $2,000. You just saved yourself $8,000 in phantom money or real dollars that goes right back in your pocket. You can change the next screen. Now here's another form of offset credit that we use to save clients massive amounts of money, and anybody can do this. Because your income means nothing. Carbon offset credits. And Al Gore, former Vice President of the United States, he has a Grammy award winning. He even won the Nobel Peace Prize for his movie An Inconvenient Truth, and he talked about global warming. Well, what came out of that is this carbon offset credits. Each company has a specific amount of carbon credits that their business creates. They can sell it to you, or like I'm a real estate developer, right? I studied real estate development at MIT. The reason why I went there is because I wanted to know how to develop a property, which I'm working on with the late, his son is my partner. I'll tell you in a second, I don't want to lose the point. In Jamaica, we're building a smart grid city on the southeastern portion. We literally put it there to stop the Chinese from buying up all the property in Jamaica. Well, the carbon credits from that, I sold to the bank to give me the financing. So I actually have no debt on the property. I'll go over that again. If anybody wants to reach out to me offline, I'll tell you how I did it at no cost. Because you can do it in your own country, and you can also do it depending on where you are in this country. But they can be purchased or created depending on the size of the business. You can pick them up. If you go to Cloverly, CLOVERLY.com, you can buy tax credits. You can buy you can buy carbon credits from the state of Iowa, even though you live in New Jersey. But here's the cool thing about it. They help the environment and your bottom line. And they can also offset as much as 100% of your tax obligation. So you move to the next slide. Now, we've all been to the store. We've all been to Target, Macy's. Mainly supermarkets do this. Or you ever go to Panda, like I'm addicted to Panda Express. I just love that Chinese food. But when you go there, they'll say, hey, would you like to round up that 16 cents? And then they ring the bell and everybody cheers. Folks, what they're doing is Panda, Target, they all have what's called a DAF, a donor advised fund. Pay close attention to this because you can do this at any level of your life. A donor advised fund is an account that's opened under a public charity that you control. So instead of just giving tithing to the church, you can tithe to your own DAF, and then your DAF can give to the church. So if you want to give to things anonymously, this is how the rich do it. They'll come up with the John Smith Foundation. That happens to be owned by the Koch brothers, one of the wealthiest families in the world. They have more money than the Rothschilds now. So it creates a double tax benefit and incredible animus. You can anonymous, what you're doing. You can change the screen, guys. Now, this next thing I want to talk to you guys about is something that 99% of the world does not know about, yet is extremely easy to implement, and it's be your own banking system. If you think about what a bank does, right, it comes from a Latin word, banco, which means money changer. If you remember in the time of Jesus, what upset him was he was dealing with the money changers, and he thought that it wasn't equal. Well, what I tell people, money changing is not going to go anywhere, but you can benefit by creating your own family bank. Now, the most famous family that did what I'm talking about here is called the Rothschild family. The founding or the patriarch is Meyer Amschel Rothschild. He is known as the inventor of the private banking system. He had 4 sons and he sent them to 4 parts of the world. There's a lot of books on it. I don't want to bore you with it. But the reality is you can own your own bank. And what it allows is, it was invented by a guy named R. Nelson Nash. R. Nelson Nash. He invented this concept back in 1971. I had the opportunity to have him sit in my office on Park Avenue for 6 hours about 13 years ago. And we went over strategy, and I gave him some of my 2.5 cents, and he told me what to do with it, and I created my own bank. That's why I don't borrow money from Chase, even though I used to be a high-level executive there. Banks are their own scam and hustle. You can be your own bank. I do not set this up for people. I will tell you, if you guys are on social media, there is a young man who is absolutely put the time in. He's put the last 13, 14 years of his life. His name is Jake Tyler Jacobs. Jake Tyler Jacobs. That is his full name at Instagram. Look him up. He is absolutely the real deal. He has come up with an affordable way for less than a couple of $100, and you can have a family bank to control your finances. And it can be operational in the next 30 days, and you do not need a banking charter or license to do this. It will blow your mind. You can move to the next slide, guys. Silver. For the last 10 years, I've been buying as much silver as I can. Silver has historically outperformed gold as a storehouse of value. Silver is also easier to use in the public. You can buy bars and you can buy coins. I buy coins so that I can walk around with a coin or two in my pocket in the event I need to execute it. It's very easy. I can also walk around with a hard drive with Bitcoin on it too, but I'm not gonna talk about Bitcoin today. But silver is absolutely amazing. When I say outperformed, meaning this, gold is so expensive per ounce that the average person just can't buy gold. And please, under the sound of my voice, never, ever, ever buy precious metals like gold, silver through investment funds. That is not buying gold and silver. When you buy silver, you want your silver coming to you in your house. There's a lot of legal schemes to buy it, and they're talking about, they're sharing the risk. No. Get your own silver. You can go to APMEX, APMEX.com, APMEX.com. You go there, they give you free silver if it's your first time buying. You spend about $20, you get some free silver. I guarantee you, when the economy collapses, which we'll see a market correction in the next couple of years, not that I'm a doomsday prophet, but it's just natural law. What will happen, folks, is you will see silver explode and gold will sort of like become sane. It's extremely easy to get involved. Go to that site. Last, become a government contractor. This is what 99% of the top 1% of people with money do with their business and tax planning. They set up entities solely to be government contractors. It is free to be a government contractor. You simply visit to the site, sam.gov. Stands for, it's all about a management system that the government has set up for you to get what's known as a CAGE code. The CAGE code stands for the Commercial and Government Entity Code. It's the way they do business with the private sector, meaning us, everybody on this phone. You don't have to be an American citizen. Anybody can get one. And when you get this government CAGE code and company, here are the only 4 things you're going to sign up for. Defense, to be a defense contractor, drone technology contractor, cleaning, and products. Now, most people, when I say that, they go, well, I don't feel like cleaning. I don't know anything about drones or defense. You don't have to. Cleaning, let's start there. I have a defense contract company as well, but my cleaning company, what we specialize in, because you don't have to specialize, but I specialize in cleanup due to nuclear mishaps or anything dealing with very destructive things. Now, I'm a relatively social, funny guy, 6'4". I live on the Upper West Side here in New York City, up in Central Park West. Do I sound like somebody's about to go clean up nuclear waste? No. And neither should you. You get these contracts, and then you simply outsource the work and keep the balance in your pocket. Just so you know, this is a strategy that the top people in the world are executing. So conclusion, go to the next slide, guys, and recap. The strategies that I shared for you, I have another 30, but these are my top 9 that I use. They've worked for hundreds of clients, and I guarantee they'll work for you. If you share the basis of this with your accountant, your legal advisors, they'll tell you, holy smokes, that's true. I never looked at it that way. But they can be utilized, folks, while you're working at your job. Your job never did anything to you except help you pay your bills. So your job is not the enemy. The IRS is not the enemy. The enemy is our collective ignorance. And I love this organization, the African Business Club, because they said they want to normalize financial literacy. They want to make it an everyday living experience for its members and humanity. That's why I got involved to do this. But the most important thing, folks, you don't have to be rich to do any of this stuff, but you do have to take action. So with that, you move to the next slide. I just want to say thank you to everybody. My dad says that we can borrow money, but you can't borrow time. You gave me your time. And for that, I'm eternally grateful to you and the Lord of the worlds for that. To receive help implementing some of these things, if you don't want to do it on your own, I can be reached. That is my cell phone number. I've had the same number for 22 years. I do the daily Champ Talk, which is this positive motivation thing for business investors every day on Instagram. I'm on every platform, but I only use Instagram and LinkedIn. And lastly, all of you can join the Get Paid Academy simply by texting Get Paid to 31996. And I'll see you guys at the top. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Greg Jones. That was very educational. Thank you. Now we have come to the question and answer discussion session. Feel free, there are 2 questions already. Feel free to put questions or raise your hand and I'll call you guys another time. But the 2 questions that came in while you were talking, Mr. Greg, is the first one came from Donnell Dinkins. It said, what kind of corp do you suggest, if not an LLC?
Say that question again.
Yeah, so the question is, what kind of corporation? I know that you talked about the S Corp and the C Corp, and then you said those are more effective than LLC.
Actually,
and why?
Okay, fantastic question. Thank you, Donnell. The C Corp, everything is a C Corp. Just so you understand, folks, there's only 2 types of corporations in existence. There's for-profit and not-for-profit. There's 2 chapters of the IRS tax code. There's the C chapter and the S chapter. So when you want to change the C chapter, which means a C corporation can live forever. It has no limit on what it can do. It can raise money. It can have investors and owners that come from any part of the world. S corporations are C corporations that have changed how they want to be taxed, meaning they have the liability protection, which is why they're popular. You have the same protection as I do with my C Corp, but here's what you don't have. You can't take advantage of the corporate tax rate. Your corporate tax rate is going to be your personal tax rate plus self-employment tax. So you pay 50% for the same thing that I'm probably going to pay no taxes on. So let's use an example why and how you pick it. If a person with an S Corp made $100,000 and a person with a C Corp made $100,000, the S Corp's $100,000 would flow down to that person, the owner of its personal tax return. So let's say they're in a 33% tax bracket. When you add the corporate tax rate, they're at 46%. So they just lost $46,000 because they picked the wrong entity. Now let's pick the C Corp. If the C Corp gets taxed, check this out. It took in $100,000 too. But let's say I spent it all on the business and I got nothing left for the 21% flat tax rate. Guess what my taxes are? Zero, nada. So the wrong corporate structure eliminates your ability to use the right tax structure. That's why C corporations are S Corps, limited liability companies, just don't have any of those advantages unless the limited liability LLC chooses or elects to be taxed as a corporation, because it can. If it doesn't, the IRS has a term called disregarded entity, meaning they disregard the LLC and go straight to your personal tax return.
Awesome, that's good. Danella, I hope that answered your question. You can feel free to unmute yourself. While you're doing that, I can go to the next question. There's a question from Jerry. He said, what is the name of the business loan that you talked about? I think is one of the middle slides. You talked about the, Wally, can you bring the presentation back up?
Yeah, are you talking about the loans to buy businesses?
Correct, yes, that one. Do
you
know the name of
it's
the
called
business loan?
100%. I've done hundreds of these. Is the SBA loan. It's known as the 7A loan. And it is a loan that is guaranteed. It is gotten through a bank. You have to get it through a bank. And I'm glad Jerry asked that question. I really appreciate that question, Jerry, because when people go to banks, they ask for a business credit card or a business loan. You know what banks do? They give you a loan under your Social Security in the name of your business as opposed to a business loan. Also, SBA loans take longer to do. They're more work for the bank, so they're not popular. But under federal law, every bank has to offer them, and they do. I used to be the #1 SBA lender for JP Morgan Chase here in New York City. I'm telling you now, and I even have a group that does loan packaging. You can reach out to me offline. I can tell you whether it's even worth pursuing and save you a bunch of money. And then if it is, then I'll work with you. But yeah, it's called the SBA 7A loan. And if you're a real estate builder, the SBA has another one called the 504D construction loan. It's not given to the investor, it's given more so from the investor to pay the construction costs. Like if you're trying to do affordable housing, you can't do it in Jersey because the cost per square foot's too much. But if all of us, the 16, 18, 20, whatever of us on the phone, put together $1,000 each, we could go buy 2 buildings in Baltimore Friday. And then I could go get a 504D loan, and it's that simple. We'd be up and running.
Well, thanks for that information. Busala,
Yep.
you raised your hand. You can unmute yourself now to ask a question. And while they get ready to ask a question now to Busala. Busala, are you there? All right, while she's waiting, Wally, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions if you're ready.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to get the slides off my screen. No, I was just gonna ask Greg, right? You mentioned that individuals can buy tax credit from our state, right? I just wanted you to talk.
That's right.
Just want to talk a little more around that, right? Is there any requirements, for example, right? Let's say I want to just, let's say my tax liability is like around $20,000 a year, right? I have to pay. So do I just go to my states? Okay, I want to buy this particular. What would they ask me for before I could buy this tax liability?
Your debit card and how you're going to pay.
That's it?
That's it, brother. Let me tell you something. The average American spends more time figuring where they're going to take a vacation than their financial future. These are numbers from Harvard Business School, the American Finance Institute. Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman have done extensive amount of studies into this. It's amazing. You can take and I'm not knocking going to Disney World and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying don't go on vacation. Hell, I'm going on one shortly. But the money we spend, you realize that, let me give you some numbers, Wally. If you didn't go to Starbucks, this is why I'm almost happy COVID happened, because people are just, they're not doing crazy stuff no more. Starbucks coffee is $5 coffee, right? If you bought a coffee every day, that's $150. $150 times 12 is 3,000. I might be wrong. It's 10 is 1,500 plus, that's $1,800, right? Do you know what $1,800 can get you? You might be able, depending on the state, some states are more aggressive than others. I want to thank you for asking a question, because some states are more aggressive. I picked the Midwest because they're not used to New Yorkers, New Jerseyans calling. You can call into the South. A lot of these gun manufacturers are using tax credits to offset their costs for their bullets. That's why the comedian Chris Fox said, if we were to charge people by the bullet, many people would get shot. But they're not paying for them. They're using tax credits to pay for this stuff. You'd be amazed. So yes, they just want to know how you're going to pay. One of the states that I use, I just bought $1,100 in tax credits on, what's today? It was Sunday, Wednesday night. It cost me $222. I ran an ad in the Craigslist in Iowa. And the guy responded. He said he had tax credits for sale. I said, how much will you give me for $1,100? He said, $1,100? He said, I'll give you $1,100 in tax credits for $128. He said, I'm gonna take that money and buy some silver, Greg. He got that 128. Even if you can't send it, send it. And the paperwork is clean and easy. You get your credits and all your paperwork to verify before you even cut a check. And then you go to the city and state and not individuals, it's even more clean. That's why I said, you can go to Cloverly, CLOVERLY.com, and you can see for yourself. There's a bunch of them. Just type, I want to buy tax credits in Google, folks, and just watch all the results you'll get. So good question.
Thank you so much, Greg, for your answer. I'll definitely.
Oh, thanks for asking.
That's something I definitely look into, because I don't, I always end up, we always end up owing, federal tax. Down here.
Brother, you are, that's the genius in you. See, that's what I'm talking about. If we all are owing money, right? And let me touch on this for a second. I wish my wife was available. She could chime in. I never want an income tax return. Why? I gave you my money for a year and you're giving me back what? No. I always prefer to owe the IRS if I even owe them. Now, I always owe them, folks, on my personal. On my business, I don't owe taxes. I haven't paid taxes. And when I do, I don't want to insult anybody on the phone when I'm paying the taxes versus what you're paying. You'd just be sick tonight, because it's kind of crazy. But when Donald Trump, and I mean nothing, I'm not a politician, but he is an example of somebody whose advisors and him have studied the IRS tax code. Amazon is an example. Bill Gates gave all, I didn't touch on it today, but Bill Gates gave all his money to his own not-for-profit. And you know what happened? That money keeps circulating year after year. He gets it all back as a refund. So he's richer doing not-for-profit work than he ever was running Microsoft. This stuff will keep you up late at night once you get it. It just blows my mind the more I think about it. It's available to us all. You cannot be denied either. Racism can't stop it, nothing. It's the code. No one even has to see your face when you're filing. It just blows my mind. So great question.
Yeah, thank you again, Greg. Felicia, you have a question? You can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Hey, Greg, thanks so much, man. Lots of gems tonight. So I'm going to go back to your number one strategy, right, which I think applies to most people, right? So if you have the single member entrepreneurs or single member
LLC,
right? So dive into that a little bit more. So people that want to open consulting firms or like a small company,
correct,
right? To recommend doing the C Corp instead.
I'm always, look, I tell anyone, talk to an accountant, but ask an accountant, and I meant to touch on this. When I hire accountants and CPAs, here's a question that I ask them. I say, what's 1 + 1? Really, I say, what's 1 + 1 during the interview process? And they come back and say 2. I thank them for their time. You know what answer I'm looking for? When I ask 1 + 1 from an accountant, I'm looking for them to say to me, what would you like it to be? Because accounting is not math, it's debits and credits. So when you set up a company, the LLC is easier to manage. It doesn't have the corporate minute requirements and all this, but you are throwing away the tax benefit. Because the IRS, first of all, New York State sucks in terms of tax benefits for businesses. So you have to be creative. So if you do a limited liability company in the state of New York has this funky rule. It makes you file what's called a publication requirement. And we used to pick like nondescript papers up in Albany, and it cost us like $40. Now they want you to pick like these where you can spend another $200-300 just telling people you exist. Just so you know, that doesn't exist in any other state. There's no publication requirement for a limited liability company. But at the IRS, at the Treasury Department level, it's called a disregarded entity because you didn't know to make the election. They penalize you by taking your money. Look, folks, there's a rule that we've heard. It goes like this: possession is 9/10 of the law. That's the game, right? Guess what the other 1/10 is? Dispossession, taking it from you. So you pay off your mortgage, but you lose your house to taxes. You go into business, start the American dream, but you pick the wrong entity type. So you get slaved. The game is simply understanding taxes. So it's not how much you earn. All these young people on social media about, yeah, I'm going to get to the bag. And yeah, cash flow is great. But how much of it do you keep? And you keep it by picking the right entity. So to your point, brother, if you want to do a consulting company, absolutely. From my experience, absolutely a corporation. Because now I get to do whatever the hell I want. And also, limited liability companies do not live forever, folks. By law, they dissolve after 99 years. They're not designed to live in perpetuity, what they call in the law. Because they're investment instruments, not really entities. But I don't want to confuse anybody, but they're new. They were invented in 1978. Corporations have been here before America.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. Funchal, did that answer your question?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. So I just want to say just a quick follow-up. So do you recommend just going back to change the S Corp to a C Corp now?
Nope. I'll tell you why. In accounting and in lending underwriting, we have a term. It's called polluted water. Once you've gone that way, first of all, get another company. Now you got two. And here's what you do. And I didn't talk about it today, but here's another strategy that I tell people. Never, ever just give money to your company. If you guys own a business, and most people own some type of business, loan it to your business. Take out formal promissory note, file it at the county clerk, and loan it to your business. Now, here's the cool thing. I loan money to my business all the time myself because I own the business, right? If I don't pay, you think I'm going to get reported? You see? This is my point. But when you loan it to the business, guess what you get to do? You get to take the discretionary money that's been taxed, right? And now you just turned it into an expense for a company you own and an investment on your money, depending on how you write up the promissory note. You worked hard for that $100, whether you're doing network marketing or real estate, whether you work like Dorian as a pharmacist, but he has a restaurant. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, because my dad says every man and woman must find a way to contribute and take care of themselves, their family, their community, and their country. But after that, we all got discretionary income. Now, we can use it to go to hockey games and fight over who's a better basketball player, or we can go to hockey games, fight over who's a basketball player, and also go buy a business that's cash flowing. I'm saying do it all. I'm not saying suffer and go be bored and don't take your wife to great places in the world and all. No. I'm simply saying be smarter with your money. So, brother, you don't go back, because I can tell you now, it gets convoluted because you form that entity at the state level. You'd have to do what's called an amendment to the articles of corporation. Then you have to justify to the IRS. See how that works? You could just simply get another company. I did it in the past.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've had S Corps when I didn't know any better. What's the worst that can happen to you? You just pay too much in tax, right? At least you got the money to pay, that you made some money. Now you know better, do better. Keep that company. Don't dissolve it. And I'll be sending a bonus. Me and Dorian, we got some stuff we're working on, but I'm about to give you guys a gift, and it's called How to Truly Build Business Credit with Your Company. It could be an S Corp, LLC, corporation, doesn't matter. It's going to be free. It'll be a thing I'm going to put together. It's about 10 steps, and it shows you how to get business credit where you're able to get credit outside of your personal credit. And that will be truly amazing. And it takes you about 3 to 6 months. But after that, you can actually get credit cards in the name of your business without using your social security number. True story.
Let's do it.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for that, Greg. I think we have one more question. It says, where do you go in order to interview accountants and tax preparers?
Wow. You guys, you're asking awesome questions. You don't have to go anywhere. You just simply have to post an ad. If you want to frighten yourself, run an ad for hire on Indeed.com and then step back to the computer. If it don't blow up, because there's a lot of smart people without a gig out here. A lot of people. Lots and lots and lots of people. If you go to any site and say you're looking for an accountant, you can go to the AICPA, I believe that's the name of it. Or you can go to the Accountants Association of America. Just put in, you want to hire an accountant. You can go to Small Business Services, which is a free department here in New York City government, and tell them you want to hire an accountant. In fact, you want them to interview them, and then you'll do the second stage interview, and that's when you ask that famous question. What's 1 + 1? Try not to laugh when you do it, because I laughed for the first 4 years. I would just sit there giggling because somebody taught it to me, and I'd be like, "Hey, what's one?" I used to just crack up. Now I do it with a straight face. What's 1 + 1? And they go, "Well, that's obvious, Greg. 2." I just want to say thank you for your time today. But I remember the day a guy said to me, folks, he looked at me and said, "Great question, Greg. What would you like it to be?" I almost had a tear. I was almost like, "Yo, man, you know what? I think I love you." Because once you get an accountant that understands that, you're about to get really rich. Rich. I'm talking about rich, as Forbes says, which allows you to be wealthy. But people who get it, oh man, that's what Robert Kiyosaki's talking about when he says, build your team. One team is the African Business Club. This is a team. Everyone has the same mentality. Financial literacy, success, wealth creation, and normalizing this as a lifestyle. That means this is who you come to first. I'm a member of this club. You don't got to go guessing around. Chris Senegal, who I mentioned earlier, don't go into real estate development without shooting him an email. It costs like $300 to do business with him. I think it's $100 now. There are legitimate people who are trying to change the world to make it better. And I have no problem promoting them, and I make no money promoting them. Also, I have to say it again, Jake Tyler Jacobs, please do you and your family a favor and reach out to him and say, I sent you. Say, @Greg Jones TV sent you. He talked about you tonight on a financial literacy discussion because the brother is not getting his credit. The brother has changed thousands of people, created thousands of family banks, and people are just taking his information and acting like they did the research. They don't walk the talk. Jake does. Tell him I sent you. Just to reach out and say, hi, I heard about you from Greg. Follow him. You'll see for yourself. You'll see. Because wives really get it. For my married or soon-to-be married men on this call, take the family bank concept, what I shared, and then go get the deeper end of it from Jake. And your wife will look at you like, yo, this is the missing component. Women see the wisdom in this kind of finance quicker. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a gender thing. I guarantee you guys, this is the way to go.
Awesome. Good information, man. This is a very, very, very informative session. I've gotten a lot of nuggets. Thank you so much. Right now we're wrapping up, and I'll call on Dorian to kind of close us out.
All right, perfect. And everyone, please be safe, wear your mask, and you have my contact information. You can reach out to the club. They can reach me, or you can reach me directly. Just make sure you reference that you're a member of this, because you guys have different benefits than the masses. So just let me know.
Thank you, Greg. Before you get off, I have two questions actually before you get off.
Oh yeah, brother, come on, please.
Yeah, someone text me to ask you what are the benefit of the S Corp, the tax benefit of the C Corp over the S Corp.
Okay, just so you know, let me deal with this in two parts. S Corps break things into distributions and expenses. So one of the reasons why it's really easy to use an S Corp, because they can just split it in half. I mean, it's kind of cool. So there are situations where a C Corp can then have an investor who is an S Corp, which is also you. And then you can maximize your dollars. Because remember, I told you the tax rate for an S Corp, so an LLC can be anywhere from 10% to 37% plus self-employment. If you own a C Corp and you also own the S Corp, and the two of them are doing business, and the S Corp is an investor in, or vice versa, I can tell you now, you pay that 10%. So it depends on what you want to do. But if you only have enough money to file something and get one company, because that's real. You know, everybody ain't got enough. Everybody always have money to go get two companies at the same time. Get yourself a C Corp. The benefit of a C Corp is maximum efficiency. Why? Because unlike the S Corp, LLC, and sole prop, with a C Corp, you get to spend all of the money on the business expenses, and if there's something left, you pay the flat tax rate of 21%. If there's nothing left, you pay no taxes. That's the only difference. You cannot do that with an S Corp.
Okay, thank you. And then other question that I got a text. She lives in Canada, so she wants to know, is any of this relevant for
Yes,
people
the
that
tax
live in
code
Canada?
is the same. I'm registered to do business in Canada, the Soviet Union, you name it. Well, Russia, I always call it the Soviet Union because I'm 51 years old. But yes, to my sister, Queen in Canada, absolutely. Taxes, folks, are the same everywhere. It's the same rules, sometimes articulated differently, but Canada is so easy to do business with. That's why H&R Block is heavy in Canada and America, because the code is almost identical. What Canada has that we don't have is their healthcare is provided by the state. It's more almost like a socialist kind of thing. So if you are a business owner, you make money promoting healthcare because you get a double tax write-off. But everything else is the same. It's just almost identical. I got a bunch of clients in Canada, in Toronto, and a couple other places. Even the Native American tribe up there, I do business with. So
All
yes.
right, thank you. And just one more thing. I'm sorry. I know our time is
No,
fast. So I just kind of so this is great. Like Aya said, this is great information. I'm glad we have this conversation. But just for some of our members, that I mean, I believe also I agree everybody should start some kind of business. Doesn't matter, even if you're a DJ, if you're a club promoter, it should be a business right now, LLC, whatever you have it. Doesn't matter if you braid hair, you should register as a business. I definitely agree with that. But for people that don't have a business set up yet, how can some of us still have some maybe tax credit or tax benefit, to cut into our W-2?
Oh, great question. Wow, you guys ask the best questions. You can buy tax credits and carbon credits whether you have a business or not. That's individuals. That they don't care. I'm always looking to save a business owner some money and myself, but anybody can buy tax credits, carbon credits. Anybody can create a DAF, donor, assisted fund, advised fund, excuse me. You can do these things with a job and no business. You can begin the process of setting up your own private family or family banking or become your own banking system. When you guys see how much this stuff costs to do, it will blow your mind. You can have your own family bank for less than the cost of a pair of Michael Jordan sneakers. And I'll give you guys a bonus. I'll give you some free game here. Write this down. This is my law firm that I've been using for 20 years. It's Spiegel and Utrera. Don't try to, I'll spell it out for you. Spiegel is S-P-I-E-G-E-L, and Utrera is U-T-R-E-R-A, but their website is www.amerilawyer, that's A-M-E-R-I lawyer.com. A-M-E-R-I lawyer.com. Just so you know who these guys are, when attorneys charge you to set up your corporations, if you live in any of the major states, they go to them and they only cost $300 and they charge you $2,000.
Okay, so actually, thanks for that. Also, man, how apart from that, are there other ways that people that like most of us that have just a regular W-2 jobs, like, are there other ways you think we can also, legally, do tax planning where we don't have to pay much, on taxes? Like,
oh, sure. There's investment. There's investments. I have to take a look at what's coming. Like, I pay close attention to political campaigns only because I need to know what the plan for each guy is. Like, I know President Trump's plan, and you guys may or may not realize this. It may have dawned on you, but if you look at my background, I was the head, I'm a Trump appointee. I was the head of the Commerce Department for New York City for 3.5 years under Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter. I know the guy. I met him when I was the head of lending at Chase here in New York City. His Commerce Secretary, I've known since I was an investment banker back in the early 90s. So he asked me to help. I'm a minority, so it was a good look. My mentor is the late Earl Graves, founder of Black Enterprise magazine. He told me to take the job, so I did. Being in DC, I learned a lot. There's 1,000 different things. In fact, there's a book. To answer your question, Dorian, so you get some relevancy to this. When I was in DC, there was a guy who was being promoted. I'll get it, but there's a book, folks, that has 104 tax strategies. Like, for instance, if any of you own a dog right now, even if your dog is what I call a pocket puppy, meaning like your wife carries around in her purse or something, the IRS classifies that dog as a guard dog. You have an $1,100 tax deduction. There's like 104 of those different types of deductions that most people have never heard of. And if you own a business while you have a job with a W-2, please get in the habit of loaning that business money. Do not just say, hey, I got paid on Friday. We're a little low. I'll just, put it in the kitty. Nope. Loan it. But you have passions that you can follow while you have a job. Like, for instance, you can get an $1,100 tax deduction for being an investor in comic books. You can be a collector of Hasbro and Hot Wheels cars. You take those cars, and if you donate them, I mean, it gets as creative as you want. Like, for instance, years ago, I used to buy junk cars for like $100. You know what? I think I'm starting doing it again for like $100. And then what you do is you turn the junk and then contact that not-for-profit, Cars for Kids. They give you maximum amount. So it may cost you $100 for a junk car. They're going to give you a write-off of $2,000. You just made $1,900 because what I just said to you. Those are the things you look for that are a benefit to anybody, that anybody can do with a job. But there's a book. Dorian, I'm going to research and get that book because I don't like guessing, and send it to you and then just promote it. It's a fantastic book. I put it in storage. That's why it's not on the top of my head. I put all my I was trying to clear up the clutter, so I put a lot of stuff in this gigantic storage unit I got for a discount.
All right. Thank you, Greg. This was really
Yes,
great.
sir.
We really appreciate your time. For our last segment, we usually ask our speakers to give us a common sense finance tip. So it's usually something that is, like I said, common sense is not so common. So it's something it should be common sense, but maybe not everyone is following, doing it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Everybody can do something, but most people won't. So simply take action on the smallest, easiest idea you heard today, and I guarantee it will change your life.
Okay, I like that. Take actions. Thank you so much, Greg, for all that knowledge that you dropped tonight. And also,
Yes,
we just want to say thank to everyone that joined us today. Thanks for your time. I know you guys could have been anywhere else tonight because outside is kind of open now, but you guys join us, so thank you. Once again, this is African Business Club. Like Ayo said earlier, our goal is to normalize financial literacy and promote collaborations and networking among Africans. These things that we share, these speakers, is, like Greg mentioned, so it's just normalize these things. It doesn't mean you should do every little thing or every advice that you heard, but it's just to make it normal. Let's talk about this instead of always on vacation talking about who's better, Wizkid album or Davido's album. Let's normalize financial literacy. Let's talk about not just basketball, which are all great things that I love myself, but this is why we do this. For everyone that's joined us, once again, thank you. And usually don't let the conversation end here. We have our Discord app where we share ideas, and we have a lot of people with different professions sharing different things every day that we've all learned from. And this conversation also will be posted on our YouTube page. Please subscribe, like, share with family members and friends. There's a lot of great information on those conversations and those discussions. I personally go back myself and listen to them and learn a lot and try and implement the ones that, that speaks well to me, that resonate with me. So please just check them out. And we also have an Instagram page, is African Business Club 2020. Also, we have a Facebook group. Once again, it's just to share information and to normalize financial literacy. On Tuesday, we have our Talk to Us Tuesday. It's usually a session to get to dive deeper into the conversation that we have today. So this Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we will continue Talk to Us Tuesday. It's been on hold for the past, I think, two sessions due to everything that's going on. But I think we have to, get back to normal schedule. So we'll be back this Tuesday. So please join us on Tuesday to continue this conversation. If you have any questions, any contributions, please bring it Tuesday. And we'd like everyone to join us. And lastly, let's not forget we are all kings and queens. So please, let's treat each other as such. Let's respect one another and let's love one another. With that said, thank you so much, guys. Peace and love. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.